Good morning. Welcome to Let's Get Growing Facebook Live. It's a beautiful warm day, middle of the summer. Had a little bit of a shopping trip this week, so I wanted to mention a couple of things about buying plants at this time of the year, perennials in particular, and really at any time of the year. There's a couple of things you should look at when you're buying perennials. And I'm going to put these scissors down. I'm not going to look at everything I picked up here, because a couple of things are just duplicates of plants that I've had before. But I'm going to pick this guy here. This is actually quite a gorgeous new delphinium. About buying perennials and what you should be looking for. So these are all the same plant. I was a bit limited in what I could get. They were almost at the end of their availability. But I wanted to get one in flower. So I got this one in bloom. It's got 2 stalks on it. Very nice, healthy looking plant. But I wanted a grouping. So then I got this guy. And then I got this guy. Now, the difference between is more often than not, when you're shopping for perennials, most people go for this one. And in some cases, that's fine. In some cases, you need to be careful. Because when you buy a perennial like this guy that's blooming, often what's happened, and this happens with a lot of different plants. Echinaceas are notorious for this. This plant has put all of its energy into producing flower spikes. And while that's great to sell in the garden center, it's not always the best plant to choose. Ideally, you should look at this plant, say, that's a beautiful flower, that's the one I want to take home, and then look at plants that look a little more like this. You can see that this one has 2 stalks, which is great, but completely bare at the base. There's no basal growth there. I'll move a little closer just to... There's no basal growth on this one. Now, I'm just going to knock off this rice hull. The nursery uses rice hulls to mulch the pots with. Helps keep moisture in. Also helps keep weeds down in the pots, and it also really helps keep down things like liverworts. Liverworts are a hard sort of algae moss kind of stuff that grows in pots, and it'll choke pots out very quickly, and in a big nursery environment it'll spread through crops like crazy, and it wants to be the only plant in the pot. So the rice hulls, which used to be just thrown away, are now being used in this way. So it's great. So I'm going to take that rice hull off. And we can see that down here, there's really not much sign of anything yet. Is it on the focus, Lord? Just to see that there's really nothing down here. So if you're buying a plant like this, well, we'll talk about that in a sec. So the other 2 I picked up, this one here, nice bushy. Is it going to initiate a flower bud this year? Maybe. But with all this low basal growth, this is a much better choice. Because with perennials, you're buying roots, you're buying a crown. And if you don't have that, your plant may not come back next year. And you'll go, oh, that delphinium's not hardy. Or that echinacea is not hardy. They are hardy, but we didn't allow them to form a crown as a young plant. And that is very important with all perennials. The ideal choice would be this guy. If you look up close at this guy, we've got shoots that are looking good. Does that focus on there, Lon?
Yeah.
Then if you look down over here, you're also going to see that we have young little basal shoots. That's what you want to look for when you're buying a perennial at this time of the year. You want to look for a crown that has developed. This one probably won't bloom this year, but that's okay. Remember, they're perennials. We want them year after year after year. Don't go for the short-term, love affair with the flower. Because what could happen with this one is if you just take this home and plant it and let it bloom and put all its energy into producing these beautiful flowers. Japanese beetle in my hair. Get out of there. If you go into letting this produce flowers, put all its energy into this, what might happen? It might do nothing down here, and then there's no crown to come back for next year. So, what if this is the only one left and you have to have it? Then you've got to do something. And it's a little scary for some people, but it really should be done anytime you plant perennials. Laura, can you just hold the pot there for 1 second? You don't have to get on camera, you just have to hold the pot. If you're buying a perennial in bloom, you need to force it to get a crown. So what are we going to do with this guy? We are just going to go right in here. Chop, chop. That plant will now be forced to form a crown to overwinter and be prepared for next year. This should actually be done with all your perennials when you plant them, no matter what time of the year, no matter what perennial it is. Cut the flowers off, let them produce roots, let them produce crowns, and your success rate will be much better. Now, some plants, it rarely ever makes a difference, daylilies, for example, but probably still a good idea to remove them, let them put their strength into growing roots and getting established. What do you do with this? Well, you don't have to throw it out. You don't have to put it on the compost pile. Put it in a vase, enjoy it in the house, enjoy it as a cut flower. It's going to bloom again next year, so don't panic. I'm going to set those down. Another thing to look for is good, well, that really goes about the same thing. Good crown growth on plants. I picked up this Tricertus. It was the bushiest one, but if you look and see, there was tons of plant in there. Lots and lots of shoots. If I took it out of the pot, if I can get it out of the pot, look at the new growth on this thing. Look at the new growth here. That's what you want to encourage when you put a new perennial into the ground. So look at the pots, look at the base, tip them out of their pots if you want. See what the roots are doing, and that way you'll find good, healthy perennials. One other one I just wanted to show you quickly here. Let me see. There's been a lot of new Brunneras coming out lately, and this one is called Jack of Diamonds, and I'm just blown away by the size of these things. This is a baby. These were actually cut back, and look at the size of that leaf. That is a massive leaf. These things make medium to large size hosta clumps in the shade garden. So, you know, we've had, if I could think of the old varieties, of course, right now I can't, but Jack of Diamonds, spectacular. I'm looking forward to adding this to the shade garden. Brunneras are a great plant for shady areas. Nice big hosta-like clumps, but a different look in silver, clouds of blue flowers, like forget-me-nots in the spring. And I'm going to mention one more plant that blew me away. The first one that caught my eye when I got to the nursery and Paul and I were doing some container work was this guy. This is a fescue. Now you're thinking, well, geez, I know fescues as blue fescues, low mounding grasses for the rock garden. This is a different species of fescue. Actually, in Europe, it's a fescue that's used as a lawn grass, as a turf grass. But a couple of keen nurserymen realized that when this thing bloomed, and this particular one, not the whole plant itself, all these wonderful flower stalks. I don't know if you can even see them really closely, Laura, on there, but they're bright yellow. So what an amazing plant. It's going to look just like grass when you've got it in the garden until it blooms and you get these wonderful sort of 3 to 4 foot stems of bright yellow. That's called Festuca glow sticks. Maple Leaf Nursery had lots of them available, so watch for them in your garden centers. Go to your garden centers at this time of the year and see what they're offering if you're looking for summer color and new stuff. It's amazing what kind of new stuff comes out at this time of the year, because the grower got it in the spring as a baby plant, and now it's ready to grow. Now it's ready to sell. So be looking for new stuff, be looking for cool stuff, be looking for summer blooming stuff. Just make sure when you plant it, you take the flowers off, let the plant grow roots and a crown. Have any questions up to yet, Laura?
Nope.
All right. I'm just going to turn over to the garden here quickly just for one other thing. I don't know if you can get it from there, Laura. You might have to just readjust yourself a little bit.
Sorry about the sunlight.
I just want to mention, one of my favorite summer blooming perennials is a native called Silphium perfoliatum, or more commonly, cup plant. It's a very tall daisy. This is a young one, but it's still pushing 7 feet tall. Big yellow flowers. Pollinators love them. After they finish blooming, the birds come for the seeds. Goldfinches go crazy for these things. The other neat thing that cup plant does is you can see how the stem goes through the leaves. And the leaves actually fuse together and form a little cup. And in that cup sits rainwater. And it's amazing to watch the bees and butterflies and things come to the water that's trapped in these leaves. It's just like Mother Nature's bird bath. It's amazing to watch. And it's a native perennial. It gets tall, it gets big. It doesn't get exceptionally wide, so you can fit it in. But if you want to have birds and pollinators through midsummer, Silphium perfoliatum or cup plant is an absolute winner. And it's a native too, so you can't go wrong. Any questions?
No questions.
No questions today. All right, come on, there's got to be one. No? All right. Well, we'll wrap it up. I'll be away at the Perennial Plant Association National Symposium this week, so I'll have lots to talk about next week. And our Ireland and Scotland trip is heading out in a couple of weeks. We'll have full reports on that, so keep an eye on Instagram and Facebook for that. And we'll soon be releasing our dates for our next year trips, so keep an eye on masonhousegardens.com for that. And we'll see you next week on Let's Get Growing Facebook Live.